Welcome to Future Talk. Silicon Valley is known as a place of new ideas and leading-edge research and new ways of working that leverage information to make everybody more productive. On today's program, we're going to talk about how methods of graphic visualization can help people work together more effectively, not only in the private sector, but in the government sector as well. I have two guests. David Sibbet is founder and president of the Grove Consultants International, which specializes in helping its clients do strategic planning using graphic visualization techniques that give everybody a better understanding of the issues being discussed. He's worked for cutting-edge Silicon Valley companies as well as government agencies, and he's also worked as a trained reporter. He's the author of the best-selling book, Visual Meetings, and a bit later he'll be demonstrating some of his graphic techniques. Also with us is our own Mei Lin Feng, co-producer of this program since its very beginning. Mei Lin is chairman of the board of the Institute for Service Organization Excellence, which uses visualization and other techniques to improve the effectiveness of leaders in government, business, and nonprofit organizations. She's the co-founder of TEDx Bay Area, which organizes discussion groups around leading-edge ideas, and she's also the co-founder of Program for the Future, a series of conferences to promote the idea of collective intelligence. So David, let me start with you. How do you use graphic visualization to improve the outcome of a business environment?
Well, for about 30 years, I've been working with companies like Apple, Hewlett-Packard, and other companies here to try to get teams, management teams, and other teams to collectively pool what they know and do a better job of making decisions and being directed. And this way of working is one that designers and engineers have used for years, drawing on blackboards and whiteboards. And I'm part of a group of West Coast facilitators who've been applying these design thinking ways to all kinds of other problems.
Now, is this a new idea? I mean, drawing has been around for a long time. What makes this new? Why are people getting interested now?
Well, it's not a new idea to draw. I mean, people who've done physical design for years have always drawn. But it's new for two reasons. One is applying it to non-traditional design areas. And secondly, the confluence with new technology is taking it to new levels.
Now, what do your drawings actually try to do? What do you try to capture in your drawing that helps the process?
Yeah. Well, let me show you a few pictures. I think that's the easiest way.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
I have up on the screen here a picture of me working with a joint waterfront workshop between the National Park Service, the Maritime National Park in San Francisco, and the Golden Gate National Recreation Area. And this template here, which is this great big sheet of paper, is a 4-foot by 8-foot way of orienting people to meetings. So one of the things you do is you use displays like this to get people into a quick start for meetings. And what this does is it shows the outcomes of the meeting over here on the right, the agenda on the left, and then the roles and the rules are here in the middle, and allows you to kind of steer down the river of the meeting with what you're doing.
So you start with a blank piece of paper and you draw this during the meeting?
Well, in this case, it's a graphic template that I filled out a half an hour or so before the meeting started based on the agreements I had with the design team. But let me show you a picture of a full meeting where you won't be able to read it, but this particular meeting here, if you look at it, it's got charts all the way around the room. And so a 2-day task force, a group of people like this, can zoom in and manage a tremendous complexity of information this way.
Is this mostly useful during the meeting or after the meeting when people can go back and remember what happened?
Well, it actually works before, during, and after. Before the meeting, I'm often working with design teams to decide how the meeting should be designed. And sometimes we'll be working on a web conference, and I'll be drawing on a tablet like I am here. During the meeting, it's used for small breakout groups. It's used for the big town hall meeting kinds of parts. And then afterwards, with digital photography, that's one of the differences now, is with digital photography, you can take pictures of these, reproduce them in PDF documents and send an email, and people looking at these charts, it looks almost like it did when you're in the meeting, and the retention is terrific.
So how would this change the result of the meeting? How would a meeting that used this technique have a different outcome from one that didn't use it?
Well, there are a couple of areas where you get a predictable result from visualization. And let me show you another little chart here. This is the cycle of action that I've used to organize the visual meeting book. And I'm going to zoom this up so you can see it a little bit. But basically, you've got, aside from imagining what's going on, your first big area of result is the engagement that comes when you actually give people sticky notes, flip charts, media, and other things, and ask them to start making clear what they're talking about. Or if they talk and I visualize, it's also very active. So engagement is the first big thing that you get. The second thing you get is you get what I call panoramic thinking. So if you look at this little drawing here, thinking about the environment and all its complexity, if you imagine a very big mural that maps out literally what the environment looks like based on what everybody in the room is saying, you would get a picture of that. Plus, you use it to look ahead and share dreams and visions. And I think Maylin is going to talk a little bit about that with the government. And then how do you move to action? So literally, thinking in visual ways allows you to do big picture thinking. In fact, in common language, that's what it's called. Big, you know.
By the
And
way,
so the last one, just let me, is supporting action. And so doing action plans and roadmaps and tracking progress.
and I understand you've written a book about this called Visual Meetings. Could we see a slide of your book just so the audience
yeah,
can
you
see
sure
what
can.
that
I'll
looks like?
Go up here. You can see the little graphic here on the front is the process that's described in the book. And basically, I'm sharing 35 years of experience of getting people to get high engagement, big picture thinking, and supporting enactment. And so it's got all kinds of things for people who do not draw and just want to orchestrate groups working visually. But then I also tell some stories about where I think this is all going when it combines with technology.
Now, I understand that even though this is somewhat popular in Silicon Valley, it's also being looked at very seriously by the federal government. In fact, you recently attended a meeting where government representatives met with Silicon Valley executives to see if some of this methodology could be transferred. What was that meeting about?
Well, Vivek Kundra is the first CIO of the United States, a Chief Information Officer. And he was empowered by the Obama administration to really start trying to implement more transparency and to bring more modern technology into government. And so he came out and met at IDEO, and I worked with an old colleague of mine, Doug Solomon, who works there, used to work at Apple. And we had about a dozen people from all over the valley, from companies like Google and others, to kind of advise him on how the government could possibly take advantage of the new Web 2.0 technology, smartphones, appliances, all of data management, all those things.
Mm-hmm. And what was the outcome of the meeting? Did he go home happy and immediately put this knowledge to work, or?
Well, many opportunities and challenges were raised, and I produced a 24-foot-long graphic that was 4 feet by 24 feet. He ended up posting it on the White House blog. I was kind of happy about that, and wrote up something about it, and I think is probably continuing to engage. They talked about, you know, having a chat room maybe in LinkedIn or something where they could continue to exchange ideas. But right now, it's clear to everyone with the scale of complexity of things that we need better ways to pool people's knowledge.
Well, we need to visualize things, right? You can read a mountain of text, but a picture is worth 1,000 words and all that. So,
yeah. Can I give one example of that?
Please do.
Picture. This is a picture that PricewaterhouseCoopers commissioned, which is actually a picture of the internet. And I don't want to get into the detail on this picture here, but just show you the one aspect of it that is very interesting about how pictures is worth 1,000 words. The internet began down here in 1968 as a response to the Cold War. It took off in 1993 when the Mosaic browser, a visual browser, was developed. And it literally, I can remember going to meetings in 1992, nobody had email. In 93, everybody had to have email. It was almost like an overnight thing. Look at this very long period here where the internet was going along and nothing was happening. The minute you draw a picture on a timeline, you suddenly get to see patterns that you would never see if you didn't display it. And this particular one shows just how geometrically quickly the internet's taken off, but it also shows you the long tail of development that was required. And many, many technologies have the same pattern.
So pattern recognition, I would imagine, is extremely important.
Fundamental.
That gives you a way to visualize things in a much more relevant way.
Yeah. I'll kind of, let me show you here one of the latest visualizations. One of my clients, Autodesk, asked me to come to TED, the TED Talks that you're familiar with,
Yes.
Nguyen. And in combination with Perceptive Pixel, which makes these touch screens that are used on television for looking at political campaigns. You've seen them where they go up with their fingers and make it bigger and smaller. We had one of these, and for every single one of the speakers, and the speakers are these little drawings along the bottom of this drawing, another artist and I on Wacom tablets were visualizing about 8 or 9 drawings per speech. These were automatically linked to their faces, and you could go up and tap on their face, and up would come
The
these
visualization.
pictures.
Yes.
These kinds of walls, touchscreen walls, different kinds of ways of seeing patterns and data, what you can do on smartphones with networks, there is an eruption of creativity occurring right now about, and a lot of the center of gravity is how can you see patterns?
Okay.
That's a lot of what's happening.